The Colosseum wasn't just a place for gladiators. It was a factory of cruelty where men, women, animals, and even myths were slaughtered for applause. From prisoners burned alive as living torches to animals starved for sport, Rome crossed lines that still shock us today. These spectacles weren't accidents, they were tools of power. Read the full story in the comments and uncover how entertainment became terror. At dawn, long before the first roar of the crowd, Rome's greatest arena was already awake. The stone of the Colosseum still bore dark stains from the previous day's bloodshed, while vendors prepared food and watered wine for spectators eager to witness death dressed as entertainment. Beneath the stands, handlers dragged starving beasts into cages, sharpening hunger into a weapon. Lions paced with exposed ribs, panthers lashed iron bars, and elephants stamped in panic. Rome was not warming up for a game. It was preparing a ritual of domination. The Roman arena was never merely about sport. It was a calculated instrument of control designed to teach citizens who held power and what happened to those who defied it. Violence was not a byproduct of the games. It was their very purpose. Over centuries, Rome refined cruelty into spectacle, transforming suffering into loyalty and applause into obedience. Gladiatorial combat did not begin as mass entertainment. Its roots lay in death rituals. In 264 BC, the sons of a Roman nobleman honored their father not with monuments or prayers, but with blood. 3 pairs of enslaved men were forced to fight to the death at a funeral ceremony. This act, known as munus, was considered a sacred obligation to appease the dead. The tradition spread quickly. What began as ritual sacrifice evolved into organized combat, influenced by customs from southern Italy and Rome's former enemies. Soon, funerals became stages for displays of power. A lavish burial proved wealth, but a blood-soaked spectacle proved dominance. By the 3rd century BC, Rome's elite realized these killings could serve politics as well as piety. Gladiators appeared at public festivals, officially framed as religious devotion, but clearly designed to keep the population distracted and loyal. Armor itself became propaganda. Fighters wore the styles of conquered peoples, forcing Rome's enemies to symbolically die again and again. Each match replayed imperial victories, reinforcing the message that Rome controlled not just land and armies, but life and death itself. Men were not the only victims. Rome's appetite extended across continents. Exotic animals were dragged from the farthest edges of the empire to die for spectacle. Lions from North Africa, leopards from the Caucasus, crocodiles from the Nile, and even giraffes were paraded not as wonders, but as trophies awaiting destruction. The practice, known as venatio, was less about hunting than humiliation. Rome proved its power by capturing the wild and killing it for pleasure. When Julius Caesar displayed the first giraffe ever seen in Europe, it was not preserved or studied. It was condemned to the sand. The opening games of the Colosseum in AD 80 under Emperor Titus reportedly saw over 9,000 animals killed. Archaeological evidence suggests many were deliberately starved to ensure quicker, bloodier encounters. Even elephants, once symbols of terror on the battlefield, were butchered for cheers. Ancient writers, like Pliny the Elder, warned that entire species vanished due to Rome's obsession with spectacle. The arena became an ecological graveyard. Extinction was the hidden cost of entertainment. The popular image of evenly matched gladiators is a myth. Rome thrived on imbalance. Prisoners were dressed as fools, handed useless weapons, and sent against trained killers. These were executions disguised as sport. Even formal gladiator types were designed for drama rather than fairness. The net-wielding retiarius faced the heavily armored secutor in battle shaped by suspense, not equality. Some fighters were forced to wear helmets that limited vision or armor so heavy it became torture. Others were thrown against multiple opponents at once or forced into mass battles that turned the sand into a swamp of blood. women were not spared. Female gladiators, known as gladiatrices, appeared in the 1st century AD, fighting beasts and each other. Their presence shocked Roman society, yet reinforced the truth that no one was beyond exploitation when spectacle demanded novelty. Midday in the arena marked the darkest transformation. Combat gave way to execution, wrapped in storytelling. Romans called it damnatio ad bestias, condemnation to the beasts. Criminals, rebels, deserters, and prisoners of war were forced to reenact myths with fatal endings. These were torn apart by animals. Arsonists burned alive. Traitors fed to lions. During the reign of Emperor Trajan, thousands were executed over 103 days to celebrate military victory. Death was paced like a play, each act more shocking than the last. Victims portrayed legendary figures such as Orpheus or Prometheus, but there was no rescue, only mutilation. The audience watched stories they knew end in real screams. It was art twisted into mockery, culture weaponized against flesh. Rome's cruelty did not stop at sand and steel. Emperors demanded water, fire, and architecture itself bent to spectacle. Mock naval battles, known as nomachii, flooded massive basins with real ships and doomed prisoners. Augustus built entire artificial lakes for this purpose, supplied by custom aqueducts. Thousands died fighting on water, their suffering amplified by scale. Later emperors staged similar battles in drained lakes or specially engineered arenas. Fire was equally theatrical. Victims wore pitch-soaked tunics and were burned alive as living torches, reenacting mythic punishments while crowds watched and ate. Some emperors made the arena their personal stage. Commodus entered dressed as Hercules, slaughtering animals crippled beforehand to guarantee victory. Applause was mandatory. Silence could mean death. His obsession drained the treasury and exposed his instability, ending in assassination. Others followed similar paths. Caligula reportedly ordered spectators killed when animals ran out. Nero turned executions into theatrical art, dressing prisoners as tragic heroes before killing them on cue. The arena magnified imperial ego until madness became public policy. Not all Romans approved. Philosophers like Seneca warned that watching executions hardened the soul, turning citizens cruel. Early Christians saw the amphitheater as proof of moral decay, many dying there for refusing to renounce their faith. Economically, the games bled Rome dry. Emperors bankrupted themselves chasing ever greater spectacles. Culturally, citizens traded civic duty for entertainment. As the poet Juvenal mocked, the people demanded only bread and circuses. By the 5th century, the Colosseum stood silent, its roars gone, its purpose exposed. Rome's arenas were not just places of violence. They were classrooms of cruelty, teaching obedience through fear and fascination. The empire believed power could be made eternal by rehearsing death until it felt normal. History delivered a different verdict. A civilization that glorified suffering could not endure forever. Today, the Colosseum still stands, beautiful and scarred. To admire it honestly is to remember what it was built for, and to hear, beneath the silence, the echoes of an empire that applauded itself into collapse.